Our next item will be our curriculum update by Steve Lear.
Good evening, everyone. I just kind of want to bring you up to date on things going on in our curriculum world. The word of the month has been testing. As you kind of see, we just finished I-STEP testing last week at Central, South Grove, the middle school and the high school, in grade 10. Then today we started testing iRead 3 at Central Elementary and a few students at South Grove. We'll be starting either today or tomorrow. That goes through Friday. And then when we come back from break, we go right back into I-STEP 2, second part, which will be all online. And then in pretty much all of April and May, the high school will be doing ECA tests. So it's pretty heavy testing wise. So it's a kind of stressful time for teachers, support people and principals as they institute those tests as required by the state. Something much more positive and exciting, though, that we enjoy is our triple threat meetings. Our next meeting is Friday, April 7th, and I'd like to invite the board, if anybody has the ability to attend. I know schedules may not allow, but if you are available and like to stop by, we'd love to have you. Kind of our focus on this next meeting will be looking at social and emotional learning and start talking about what that means and how we kind of start talking a little bit about implementation and what that looks like in building capacity of our principals, our teachers, and our support people. So if you're available on Friday, April 7th, that meeting starts at 9 a.m., I believe. And if it starts at 9:30, you can just sit around and have coffee until then. I believe it's 9.
It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, 9
It's right
o'clock.
here.
So
It's 9 o'clock in this room.
9 o'clock in this room, yes. We'll be in this room at 9 o'clock, so we'd love to have you if you're available. Also, I've just included a couple updates from the middle school and high school. Some of the things going on there in terms of professional development. And, so please take a look at those, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But I just want to highlight a few things.
Society induction. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, you're all right, absolutely.
You said ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So those are the things going on in curriculum. Like I said, very heavily testing over the last 2 weeks and into the following, till the end of school. So that's kind of where we're headed with the curriculum component. So,
Well, I thank you very much. Do you have any other comments you would like to make?
no, I do not. I just appreciate, I guess I would like to say I appreciate our principals, our support personnel, our teachers. It is very difficult, stressful, time-consuming to administer these tests, and the amount of time that they spend outside of school, before school, it's, I think makes me appreciate the good people that we do have in our district and just begin to celebrate them and thank them for all they've done in implementing this test. There is high stakes accountability. There's also high stakes in terms of creating a positive testing environment and just a lot that goes into it that most people don't see. But one of our integration specialists said they spent 13 hours just changing accommodations and getting test tickets ready for kids to take the test.
I know I happened to pop in and one of our administrators was just getting ready to get things ready, and there were like, so you know who it is, gone through like 7 boxes already that had nothing but directions in it,
Right.
and I can only imagine the hours that have to spend just preparing for it.
Yeah, I've spent the last day and a half just packing the boxes up with Mrs. Bass's help, Mrs. Story help, so we probably have 30 person hours developed, just dedicated to that. And there are about 25 pages of just directions on packing boxes. So it's pretty incredible, the amount of time that is wasted from kids to be spent on testing. So that's kind of why I think there's so much frustration in the teaching field of education about kind of the emphasis of the test and the amount of time that it takes to administer it. So we're all for assessing kids through growth, but that's kind of why the talk of having a kind of simplified, shorter, 3 times a year assessment is something that I think all teachers would welcome and move forward with so that they can see how their students grow. But this is just very tedious and time consuming. So.
Like you said, it could easily be spent hands-on with our students.
Right.
Moving on.
NHS is Monday, April 24th.
Okay.
It's 7 p.m. in the Archway.
Thank you very much. We will have our Community Relation and Education Foundation update.
Yes. I'll just give you a few of the highlights. I'm sure that you have probably read the morning class and the Facebook, just a cover to cover, right? So you know everything that you see. There's a lot of good things doing. Dr. Kaiser and I presented former board member Tammy Story with her appreciation plaque for her board service at a recent basketball game, and that was a lot of fun. And then also you probably saw the story of the founder of the Jubilaires, which was so much fun to do with her because she's as super excited today about the Jubilaires as she was 30 years ago when she was first here. So she was our first director, and that was really fun to do. And then at South Grove, Rebecca Pollard, that was such a fun thing. She was totally surprised when she walked in the door. It was great. Brandy, who's our nursing coordinator, brought her down to the gym and told her they wanted to check a AED. There were some new instructions, I think is what she told her. So she was totally caught off guard when she walked in there, and the kids were jubilant with her. It was just really a neat convocation. So, and then Dr. Kaiser and I presented just this past week at Southwestern Shelby School District in Shelbyville. There's lots of schools that always come to us and want to know how we market our school. And so they ask us, would you come and tell us your secrets and what you're doing that attracts students and getting the kind of publicity that you do. So that was our latest one. Tomorrow morning, we are going to do, Channel 8 is coming, a reporter, to do a story on Finley, on Finn, who is our therapy dog at South Grove. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to have students and staff and others that are going to come and of course Finley is going to be in his best. Dr. Keeley
Well, they can't find
assures
an
me.
outfit for him, according to Mrs. Keeley.
Oh, they couldn't find one for
So
him?
he's getting a bath and he's got his toenails trimmed.
That's great. Hey, he's going to look fabulous. So it's going to be great.
He
So
didn't
that's
take Dave.
coming tomorrow, and I'll let everybody know and send you the link when that story airs. It'll be a fun one. Thursday, I'm attending the Indiana School Public Relations Association annual meeting, which is in Lebanon this year, and the theme is Hot Topics and Hoosier School Communications. So that should be a fun conference to go to. With the Education Foundation, we added a temporary donate button this week. We had a student in need with an upcoming trip to France, but it turned out that we had so many generous people that we had enough money that actually all the students who are going are going to be able to benefit from it. So it's been a really cool thing to see that kind of generosity. Teachers Credit Union, who is a big supporter of ours for the art show, they're once again donating gift cards for all of our art teachers. So they donated a $50 gift card for them to thank them for what they do as far as all the setup that they have to do and the tear down and being there all night for the show. So they're doing that again this year. And then the spring grant program information will be distributed to teachers shortly after spring break. So we'll be gearing up for that for the grant program. So that's just a few of the highlights that have come up the last few weeks.
Thank you. We will, do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
No?
Okay.
That's just, you don't want to hear me talk all night.
Pardon me?
You don't want to hear me talk all night.
I will move on. We'll need to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 14th and the work session and the executive session.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of all those meetings. And I'll second that.
It's been moved by Mrs. Mobley, seconded by Ms. Laker, to approve the minutes as presented. Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, we'll also need the same, I need to entertain a motion to approve the claims for March.
I move that we approve the claims for March. I'll second it.
It's been moved by Ms. Laker, seconded by Mrs. Mosley to approve the March claims. Any comments or questions on any of those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think we can skip number 5 on there. Dr. Kaiser, would you like to give us a business update?
Well, I'll kind of start with me very quickly and then turn over to Tom, but
Okay.
as you know, we've been working on our fiscal vision and decision-making and reductions, and one of the things we want to do is make sure you guys are kept in the loop on a monthly basis. So Dr. Keeley developed a form that works very well, and it's at your table there. And what we'd like to do is every board meeting, just kind of quickly go through this. There's the one thing about budget, there's ups and downs, based on when annuities are due, when this is due, and things like that. But as we told you at the last meeting, we're pledging to reduce our expenditures so that we're going to be generating $500,000 worth of savings. And so we're moving forward with that. And you'll see the majority of that hitting really starting in the fall, but we're moving in the right direction. So Tom, I'll kind of turn it over to you, and he can walk you through the form. And when you're done, if you don't mind, take it back home and go to your fiscal binder. There's a tab called Monthly Reports. Mine is securedly already in there. So if you put that in your binder, so you'll see how that changes from month to month. I think it'll be a great kind of lesson of what the ups and downs of expenditures and revenue. So
The form's called Appropriation Expenses and Cash Balances, and it's really the work that I do between the 1st of the month and the 10th of the month. Typically, we do our bank reconciliation by the 10th with Kathy Statzer and I. And then I take those dollars and I summarize those, and placing them in here is very similar. At the same time, I'm doing cash flows to determine on how best to make bills and pay bills the next month. What you're going to notice in this document is that January, June, and December, you're going to see high expense months. And that's because we get dollars in 3 basic times of the year. Tax anticipation warrants in January, which is a borrowed money, which is very temporary. Then we get our tax settlement in June. When we get that tax settlement in June, I pay back half the TAWs and I pay all of our debt bills. So you're going to see a very large number. And on this form, you'll see 2.9 million, almost 3 million was spent in January, when only 2.1 million was spent in this month of February. You're going to see a very similar 2.1, 1.9 would be a great opportunity. You'll see your claim sheet was 1.9 that you approved tonight. So we're going in the right direction, and that's good. Don't be alarmed that in June, we don't have a $3 million month. And don't be alarmed that in December, we'll have a $3 million month, because that's the path, okay? The one thing that you see on there in red is a negative number for referendum. I have moved all the bus drivers and all the salaries into their appropriate places to finish out this year, 8, 9, 10 months. That fund does not have enough money to securely pay for that department, the transportation department, for the whole year. So we expect if we were going to be able to pay for 12 months, that should be $191,000 or less. And as you'll see, we spent $302,000. That's $100,000 overspending. So that's a target number. And you're going to see at times we meet that number, like we did in January. And you're going to find out because of roof repairs or an HVAC, something happens where you're going to see a couple months where it's above that. Okay, and then that's where that money shifts over to some of the general fund spending that we've been talking about. So don't be alarmed by this. It just gives you some trends. And at the bottom, I went ahead and explained to you why we went from 2.9 down to 2.1. And it's because we paid a lot of debt service payments during January. And I always, if you ever want to come visit and you want to walk through the numbers, I certainly have them disaggregated for very specific reasons why things are going on. And could certainly go over that and explain that to you if you wanted to come visit.
how do you guys feel about the form? Does it give you some good information?
Yes.
I feel like the cash balance of January 1 is a beacon that'll stay the same. That's the far right column, the second from the next to the end. That'll always stay the same because that was the January 1 balance. And then you'll see the current cash balance, which, good news, general fund went from 364 to 479. That's $100,000. So that's a bonus. So that's the trend we're going to be looking at. But again, when we get to October and November, I have to rely on some of that cash to pay for transportation salaries. So,
Can I ask one really weird question?
Certainly.
On here, under transportation and bus replacement, it's 0 all the way across the board until we get the January 1 cash balance and the current cash balance. Does that carry over from 2016?
That is correct.
Okay.
And then you're going to see that cash balance, current cash balance, may go up during the year because we have various things. We may turn in a bus that's no longer able to be, doing whatever, and they may give us $1,500, and so miscellaneous revenue may deposit in there. Also, in June and December, we do have a tax rate in there, so even though we don't get property taxes, we get 0, we'll still get CVET, commercial vehicle excise tax, we'll get the gadget, we'll get the other ones in there.
FIT,
Okay.
financial institution tax.
I just wanted to know where it was coming from since it was
Yeah.
0 across.
Yep, most of that came from those taxes last year. We get excise, FIT, and CVET. We used to get a crazy other little
Water pilot.
but you won't see that change much. And this just kind of tells you where we are. I had the privilege last Thursday, I met with Senator Cruz, who's one of the high-ranking Republicans, and I took him the PowerPoint that I gave you guys and said, we need help. And then on Friday, I met with Representative Tim Brown, who was just very knowledgeable about our situation, or about circuit breaker. But he didn't realize to the fair, we have the second largest percentage drop in circuit breaker in the state of Indiana. And it was really kind of interesting because they both said, yeah, there's a problem, we realize it, but yet the forces that make those decisions, the high-ranking Republicans, they don't want to do it. I mean, they just flat don't want to do it. So I'm trying to set up a meeting with Representative Bosma, as you know, as a Beech Grove grad, and also Representative Boehne, who's head of the Republican Education. Again, just to try to say, hey, there's schools out here that really struggle. And as I told them, what's really unfortunate about this situation, as you know, we're now spending $1.3 to $1.5 million out of the general fund that used to come out of these, and that affects our teacher salaries. We haven't been able to give the raises we want. We didn't give a raise last year. We saw in the report, there's a little bit of money coming next year based on the House budget. The Senate budget the hearing was on Monday. I have not seen the run for that legislative service, but it'll be something like this. So we're optimistic because we made those cuts, those tough decisions in early November, and other tough decisions we made for next fall. We're going to get going back in the right direction. But we still have a serious circuit breaker issue. It's in the Constitution. It's not going away. So between Tom and I, Tom wasn't able to come on those 2 days. He was knee-deep in alligators doing other things, and otherwise he'd be with me. But we'll try to schedule some more meetings, and not optimistic anything will happen this year or next year, but we're planting seeds for the next biennium. I mean, it's pretty much set from that standpoint. But I think our legislators do a great job. I met with Aaron Freeman, I met with Cindy, talked to them about it, but there's only so much money to go around. And we want all state employees to get a raise, across. But so we're optimistic that we're going in the right direction, and we'll be able to get back to put some money on the table for our teachers in the fall. That's the exciting thing. But it's been some tough decisions, but it's decisions we made, and we're going in the right direction. So that's very positive for us. Tom did a great job on the form and everything. It tells a good story.
I think you'll learn, I think you'll get comfortable with it as we talk, this is the first time we introduced it, and I think you'll get comfortable with it as we have it as just part of the main report every month. So I think you'll get to see some trends, and I think that's kind of our goal there. So in the business department, it was really a month of negotiations is what we ended up doing. Besides doing some debt reporting and post-employee benefits reporting and working with an actuarial to get those things certified, which is, we did our due diligence on that, and so we got approved by an actuarial that says we have enough money to pay for any of our post-employee benefits, so we're not an unfunded liability, so that's a good thing. Eileen worked on 100R, and then together, the three of us worked on Chartwell's and Coca-Cola contracts. And so I included the Chartwell's contract in here for you. The contracts come back, both contracts, and Bob Run has recommended adding some lines where board president can sign and one other board member can sign, so that I'm not just the only one authorizing as business manager a contract of that magnitude, because it really, the 800 account for lunches is quite an extensive dollar amount that we go through during the year. So I'm going to have them, at Chartwell's, I'm going to have them change that last signature page. There's a couple other small things, but they didn't really see a problem with that. Coca-Cola was a really good opportunity for us to find out that we have a pretty good partnership with them, and we got rock bottom pricing because we are a partner with Chartwell's. So we got one of the best pricing in the nation. Because I did not know this, but Chartwell's is actually the #1 vendor for Coke. And because of that, supply and demand, they're able to undercut most all of the prices of any of the districts around the state of Indiana. So we get treated like a big boy instead of a small district. So that's outstanding. And that'll help our athletic departments and our schools make money through the Coke machines and things like that. So I was pretty pleased with the Coke contract. Because of the combination with Chartwell's, Pepsi and 7-Up either failed to return my phone calls or wouldn't provide me with a price listing. So I have some documentation that shows that I went out to 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, but Coke is really very competitive, I think. So that was good. 401A and DEVA was paid out and deposited during the month of February for first semester, and that is a contract obligation. All certified individuals get a certain percentage of both of those accounts of their salary, 1 and 1.5. I'm not sure which one is which.
The VEBA is 2%.
2%.
And the 401 is 1%.
1%. 2 and 1, flat.
And then we also give a 403B matching, which is 2.5%. So on the benefit side, we do a very good job.
That's the ongoing, though. The 403B is a monthly payroll paycheck dollar amount. The VEBA 401A is a lump sum when you've completed an entire semester, because there's a vesting provision in that. So that's a hit that I wanted to mention, because that's part of that contract, this document here. A good portion of that dollar amount that went out was paid out from this account. And that's one of the reasons why spending was where it was during February as well. Outside of that, that's business. And then personnel report, I think I only had 2 teachers' aides on my report. Was all we had, so there's not a lot of fluctuation. It happens during the winter months, and that's a good thing. So at this time, I'd recommend a motion to recommend the hiring of our 2 employees.
Oh, I'll second.
Oh, I'm not.
What you give me
I
first?
need a motion.
Oh, I'll make a motion. I'm sorry. That we accept the personnel update, if you're ready for that.
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Mrs. McManus, seconded by Mrs. Mobley to approve the personnel recommendations presented. Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries.
Go back to you for a little
very
operations
good.
update.
Yeah, let's talk transportation a little bit. I think just like March and April are big in the curriculum with testing, in transportation it is bus inspections. So in April we start bus inspections, and we have approximately 31 buses. And in talking to Steve, all buses are inspected for leaks, rust, exhaust, seat tears, window and door functioning, lights, signals, signs, tire wear, etc. It's quite extensive. They then steam the bus. They steam it, the underneath of it, so that the inspector can see and check for leaks. The department feels that if it's not clean, then the inspectors feel that they're hiding something. So in all, they say it takes approximately 2 to 3 hours per bus. So you're looking at around 60 hours of mechanics time just dedicated towards that. So you can understand how busy they'll be in the next 3 weeks. But you don't want to do it too early, because then if you do it now, a month later, it'll be dirty again. So it's kind of a a constant battle, but they'll really hit it hard towards the end of spring break and start getting ready for inspection. So that's coming up. And Steve also wanted just to mention that our community service day is April 19th. And we have 18 buses that help deliver students to their chosen destinations. So we transport kids all over the local area, and maybe some of you will see them around your neighborhood. And if you know anybody that needs any type of service or help, I think they can contact Daniela at the office, and they can kind of get them on the list and get that information to the high school, and so we can go out and help our community.
April 19th?
April 19th, yes. Also, just kind of in terms of budget, just kind of want to update you on a couple things. And they're good things in terms of repairs. We just finished a major repair of a roof. It was just over $20,000, about $25,000 at the middle school.
I think we got a number of pictures on
I
that.
sent
Yeah.
them the pictures.
So rooms, roof over 104, 106, 108, the nurse's office and stage were all addressed. And so that's exciting to have that repaired because that roof is 25 years old. It's just constant battle of chasing leaks. So luckily we had allocated some money towards that, and that's one of the things on our list to keep money for is roof repairs. We know that's one of our #1 needs in our district. So we're really focusing on those repairs and trying to allocate and set money aside to do that. So I know South Grove has some repairs also that will be occurring in the near future, and those include that 6th grade hallway. And Brent and Dale have spent quite a bit of time chasing leaks. As you know, the difficult part is it may show up over there, but really it started here and just goes along beams, and once water gets in, it's very difficult. So this is a good repair that should really help that area and eliminate the need for some buckets. So again, although I think as Dr. Keel and I have seen over the last few years, roofs are a big thing. So these are 2 high need areas that we're able to address at this time. So.
Do we ever get any donations from Firestone Building Products right now in Arlington? They make that little roofing, I just wondered if they were ever a corporate donor.
Yeah, they have not, we do not partner with them right now in terms of that. We have a company that is more of a inspection type company that does thermal testing to find out where water is underneath. And then at the time of installation or these types of quotes, they'll use Firestone products.
Well, I just wondered since they would.
Yeah, and I've talked to the owner before, but they're just not, it's not the front line. They're more of the manufacturing back end one. So no, we don't really, it's just kind of a business.
They are partners in our school to career effort. Paige Anderson has reached out to them and had talked about internships and things like that. So they're a very good community partner, but, those people, those types of companies normally do not just donate.
Yeah.
We
So,
also do community service with them too.
yeah, we do, you're right, absolutely.
Go there for community service.
So, good partnership.
And that is it from a operations standpoint.
Okay. I think next we have some donations that were in here. Were they all from donors' choose maybe? But we do have those if you want. We'll need a motion to approve those donations.
I move that we approve the donations.
It's been moved by Jill,
I'll second it.
seconded by Nancy to approve the donations as presented. Any comments or questions on any of those? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, ladies. We do have one overnight field trip there. We also have, we'll need to do them separately. We do also have an overseas field trip. The biology one is the Purdue camp.
Summer camp.
There's
Sorry.
2 overnight. There's the Purdue summer camp and then the FFA.
Right, okay. Oh, that's right, it is in there too. Okay,
Mhm.
so we do have two of those. And actually, they're both about the same time.
Yeah.
One's, the FFA is a day shorter, but that is for middle school and high school. And then the Purdue camp, summer camp is high school.
I'll make a motion to approve the field trips.
Second?
Okay. It's been moved by Nancy, seconded by Jill, to approve the overnight field trip to Lafayette. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And we will also have the, Washington, oh. Maybe we didn't-
The Washington DC was one of the overnights also.
It is.
And then the next one we have is Italy, Venice, Florence, and Rome
For the choir.
for the choir. If you remember, Scott Bradford did this, he went to Spain, maybe? Or did he go, maybe he went to Italy.
And this is
Thank
for
you.
spring break of next year.
Yeah, next year.
So do we have the two then that are scheduled in spring break? Or-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've had conversation with individuals about the potential conflict and asking them to kind of work together in their efforts, because my signature is on that page. I don't want to sit here and say that I should be the one in between saying that you can't raise that. I just brought up the whole idea that I do think it is quite a bit, two overseas trips at the same time. And my perspective at a district level is you're asking a lot of fundraising at the exact same time frame. So I just, they could conflict with the activities that they do, with the amount of money. And so I just wanted to make sure that they both were very aware of the other one going on at the same time. And so we've made our best efforts on that. And you feel comfortable that we can swing this, or
Yeah,
or
we're
we
also-
would have had more conversation is what I thought.
We're also soliciting some grant funding at the federal level to offset some of the fundraising.
Both groups are very passionate about the opportunity and how life-changing that a trip like this, supervised at such a level in an interest, a lifelong interest of these students, can actually really reshape and change their path and what they want to do for the rest of their life. And so both groups are that passionate about it. So I decided to approve and sign my name to it because I felt like both are invested for the right reasons. So that's kind of my 2 cents worth on that. But I had some conversations with them, so I was very concerned at the beginning. But I have faith that they'll both work very hard.
So do we need a motion?
I do.
I so move that we approve the overseas field trip.
We'll need a second. Okay. All right.
I feel like I'm not at the right end of the table, but I feel like I'm not at the right end of the table.
Come on now.
It has been moved by Jill, seconded by April, to approve the overseas field trip. Any other comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have approved the overseas field trip to Italy. We don't have it, are we not updating yet with,
Board policy.
Viola?
We're in good shape for right now.
okay.
I'm assuming at some point in time, our rep will come around and start working with Danielle on
I'm meeting
updates.
with him
but-
over spring break.
Yeah, we just, remember, we just converted that whole document.
Right.
And, it is posted online for our patrons to look at, the board policies, which are really nice, so
All righty.
there's some good strides in that area.
Any success stories anyone would like to share?
Gotta give a shout out to all the music kids, middle school and high school. They're like
Yeah.
rock stars. Our little music department sounds like professional musicians.
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to our community. for voting yes 2 years ago, which is a long time to think about that, on our facilities referendum. You know, I asked our young man tonight, I said, well, what do you think about the new band room? He just started going on and on about the things they can do differently. You know, we had a former choir director come back and look at the facility and just ooh and ah about it. You know, we're going to be hosting the Marion County All-Star Basketball game, which, you know, may not seem like a big deal, but you're going to have people from all of Marion County coming into our lobby. And then the top 60, you know, you're going to have 60 families from all of the state of Indiana coming to our facility. And, you know, we got to give thanks to our community that said yes on May 5th, 2015, although we wouldn't have that great facility and couldn't do the things. But, you know, the important thing is the air conditioning is working, and that is truly a learning environment scenario, that they don't have noisy, you know, machines. And we built some really nice, very conservative, very functional facilities for our kids. And, you know, it's just been great to watch them use it all year long. So everything from our band, choir, to cheerleading, to you name it. We would like to know who's throwing balls up in the ceiling tile to, you know, in that band room, but we'll investigate that. But outside of that, it's been wonderful. So we want to say thanks to our community for their support.
Thank you to our entire community. It just goes on to show, our favorite saying is, it's a great day to be a Hornet. Once a Hornet, always a Hornet.
Amen.
Well, it's that time of evening then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I guess I'll second it. Everybody second it here?
Your turn or mine?
Yeah.
It's been moved by Nancy, seconded by Jill to adjourn. Thank you very much. Now, could we have donations